Right after that, the week later, people started receiving messages to come and take their passport, the backlog of their passports that have been there for months and so on. This knee-jerk reaction after these public, outbursts. Beyond that, what has to be done to address the systemic challenges that we're faced with as a people?
Okay, so I think Honorable Ayarga mentioned one of them. So prosecute the people involved, and that's accountability. Yes, if you don't prosecute in order for those persons to pay the price publicly, of course, this Honorable Mr. Amwakwata says he sacked people. Yeah, they've paid the price, but it's been public. So, it's been private because we don't know those people.
Yeah.
So if he went ahead to report them to the Office of Special Prosecutor, then they would be prosecuted. Then it would, and as part of the prosecution process, we will get to know. So there would be that collateral damage of naming and shaming even before the case is ended, right? Yes, so it's a very critical step to take. Of course, I mean, I should have started that we commend him highly. We commend him highly for coming out with those statements. Yes, they are rants. I see some people who said, no, it means he's not up to the task. Well, you can look at it that way, but, it's often said in policy that a problem well diagnosed is half solved. You see that, I mean, President Kufuor has been denying corruption, right? A corruption denier. But we all know that it's rife in his government. So for the minister to come out and to admit that, look, there are lots of corrupt people under him in the ministry, it's a very huge step forward, very huge. And we must commend him because we need that honesty, right? So, yes, kudos to Mr. Amwakwata for that, right? Now, as you mentioned, those people he sacked, it's not yet late. Fortunately for us, when it comes to criminal cases, they'll tell you that there is no limitation, meaning that any time, okay, the case can be taken to court. Of course, subject to the evidence still being available. So though on paper, we can say the case can be taken to court anytime, but if you have a delay and all the evidence vanishes, of course, you can't take any case to court like that. It has to be based on evidence, right? You remember Afarijan saying the name of the game is what? Evidence, right? Yes, so let's report, he should report those people to the Office of Special Prosecutor. And as I said, of course, Kisie Jabin, he's getting about 249 employees next month, right? So there will be more capacity. So the OSP can deal with that, and then we can make progress. And that is very commendable. I can't overemphasize the point that Mr. Mwakwata has done the right thing by calling out the corrupt people. Of course, he hasn't mentioned their names, but I hope from what he's done, he can furnish us with names. Because if those people were taken through disciplinary proceedings, and that's what I expect, yes, he shouldn't be shy to give us the names and the reports. Because in the civil service, you can't just dismiss somebody like that. If you did, the person would go to court. You remember under President Atamil's regime, the accountant Odum, when Muntaka was sports minister, the Pampers case, Odum was fired, the accountant, he went to court and he won, right? So, and that's our law. There's due process. So, if Mr. Mwakwata is saying that he's fired people for corruption and arrest, and especially corruption being that very grave, we would presume, and I mean, we have every right to presume that under the law, some due process was done. And that's to say that the case was investigated and a committee would have found him or those persons liable. So he should come out with the reports. He should come out with the reports in the interim. That's very, very critical because that's civil remedies that he has, meted out to those people. That's separate and distinct from the criminal sanctions which can be meted out by a court of law if he triggers the processes. So let's look for it. Maybe, Mr. Okanse, you can send your reporter to interview him further for those reports, and then we can do that. We can get those ones, then we can read, and of course, make progress, right? And one other thing too is that, so Having said this, of course, in the context that the week before, the Honorable Kpebu had also come out to make statements. And
exactly.
The next thing we're expecting is the president. He himself, he should also come into the fray.
The president should make a statement.
Yes. Because you see, now every day we keep saying his days are numbered. He's on his way out. So the fight against corruption, is that all? The fight against corruption that he said, look, he was going to raise money from it to fund free SHS. That's why he told the BBC when he was asked, how are you going to fund free SHS? He said, oh, the proceeds from corruption alone can fund free SHS. And some conservative estimates show that we lose about $3 billion to corruption every year. So now, as we sit, just barely a year for him to go. I don't count the last 6 months because next year by this time, now all the attention would have shifted from him to the presidential election. So let's say effectively he has just this August, right? Maybe 10 months because from July next year, effectively he'll be out. So just barely 10 months for him to go. Is that the end of the fight against corruption? No, we shouldn't. So this is an opportune time for the president to also step in and show that, look, maybe he's repented from his own corrupt ways, okay? From the Cecilia Abinadapa letter that he said Cecilia would be exonerated, and you see how the case is gotten from bad to worse, etc. The PDS case, right? The fumigation that he himself superintended. President Kufuor superintended the fumigation of schools, etc. when they were shut down. Manasseh did an investigation on. We lost about 500 million cedis. He hasn't answered. Since Manasseh did that, the fumigation, I haven't read his response, right? So this is an opportunity for himself to also come out and give a contrite heart, right? So that we will see if we can start afresh. We can start afresh. I mean, so we can say, I think that this matter of corruption also dovetails into our pet project about the declaration of assets by public officers. Fortunately, every day I've been saying that I'll bring the Gazette publication, I'll bring it. Yeah, today I have it.
You have it?
Yeah, lots.
Fantastic.
You see President Rawlings declare his assets, PV Obin, Mary Grant, all of them.
The publication of it, and not just the filling of the form and putting in an envelope to give to the Auditor General.
Yes, you see, plenty, all of them, Steve Obin, you name them, NDC appointees. And it's good, very, very good, because look,
show it to the cameras. Show it to the cameras. So this is the declaration of assets by Jerry John Rawlings.
Yes, and his appointees. Wednesday, 7th October, 1992.
And this is a public document.
Yes, number 40. Then you see number 41, 42. So all the appointees lined up. And I keep saying this is not the first time. When Kwame Nkrumah was overthrown, then they set up the committee, Jage Commission. This is how they also went through. They had to, all of them had to come and account for their assets. Had to come and account publicly. Those reports, maybe next week I'll bring the Jage Commission reports. You see them fat like this. Each minister by minister, ambassadors, everybody had to account for it. And if you couldn't, you were taken out. And let's mention this. So you see that when not only the Jage Commission, but the there's the Taylor Committee, a NIN committee. So in the 1979 elections, when we're going, people who had been found to have amassed wealth in public office illegally, unexplained wealth, all of them were lumped up and disqualified. J.H. Mensah, he was one of them. Moro Igala, he was going to be a presidential candidate. He was the one that they took off, and then Liman became, Moro Igala, all of them, they were disqualified. Over 100 of them, 100 public officers. And then we further made the SMCD, there was a law that, okay, if you want to contest elections, go before the committee, go and explain all your assets. So if you had to be investigated before you would stand election, you see SMCD 216, etc., then 206, lots of them. So this is the right time. Now that from Cecilia Dapa to Ayokubuchu's rants, to Amoakwate's rants, and the president's own infamous letter saying that Cecilia Dapa will be exonerated, etc. And in the context of the PDS, the context of the bulk oil storage cases, all the clearing agent cases. You see, all those cases where the president cleared them to the extent that now his family is very rich. Of course, Ijapa, where he earned the this title of Mother Serpent of Corruption, which aptly fitted him. And then to last year's GII report that showed that the presidency was the second most corrupt institution. And you remember before then, I had said he's part of a criminal syndicate. And people say, hey, don't say so. He's the president, he's the president. Last year, by this time, he still had the goodwill. So the people say, no, you can't say that about the president. Oh, come and retract. We retracted. But you see how, since then, you see how it's gotten worse. So Ghanaians, that's a lesson to us. When somebody gets up, I mean, I voted for him. You don't love Akufo-Addo more than I do. No. I love the Akufo-Addo more than Mahama, and I've never voted for Mahama.
Right.
So for somebody who voted for him, if I came out to tell that, look, this man is part of a criminal syndicate. No, people this retracted. Well, you can't say that. You can't say that.
And you retracted.
Yeah, you retracted. Then afterwards,
so you are such a coward.
No, before you didn't support me. You didn't support me. Now you see. You see the criminal syndicate.
You've retracted.
You've seen the criminal syndicate.
You retracted. You retracted.
Yeah.
So, yes.
You say it. So that's it. So please. And then so Mr. Khan says, so please, final sentence on it. Look, the Attorney General should come up. The public of a code of conduct for public officers. The bill. Look. We must have publication of assets in there because Rawlings did it. The appointees did it. We must have publication. We must have verification. And then we must have yearly filing of the assets. You know, Honorable Chum Berima, is that Nkranza, the MP? Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's leading the charges for that we should do yearly publication. And it's not far-fetched because if you look in the 1979 Constitution, we had to file the public officers, that's those who qualify, had to do it every 2 years. Yeah, the 1979 Constitution. That's our history. You have to file every 2 years.
So there's some precedence to that
yes.
call that he's making.
Yes. So now internationally, it's accepted that yearly is good. Yearly is good. Okay. Yes. So that's it. So Ghanaians, wake up. Wake up. If you are scared, you don't want to lose even a finger in the democracy, then you are not prepared. Because look, if you read Plato's books, they will tell you that is how citizens, when the majority are docile, then you get bad governance, right? And wise people who refuse to participate in governance are what? Ruled by fools.
Okay,